Housing Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi is calling for service providers who abandon projects to be held accountable. She's also called for the Special Investigating Unit to probe unscrupulous contractors whom she's accused of siphoning state funds without having delivered a single milestone. We can speak now to the Minister, who's recently been on a visit, in fact, to see the state of affairs in the Free State province. A very good evening to you, Minister. Grateful for your time. So the issue of unscrupulous contractors is not a new one within the public housing situation. What have you found as far as the extent of the problem and where contractors specifically are to blame?
Good evening to you and your listeners and viewers. We did a visit, as we do continuously across the country, to provinces to assess the state of performance and check how far are we in terms of the projects versus around the budgets, what we have allocated, if it has been spent correctly, and where it has been spent, and the quality of service. So we're particularly in Mangaung. We also went to Machabeng in terms of municipalities, where there was an outcry, and specifically because the mayor called me, actually literally came to the office to come and request intervention, to say there are quite a number of projects that are outstanding in his municipality, and communities are asking when are these going to be concluded and why are we not finishing them. So we requested, because we transfer money into the province, we requested the team to be able to give us a report per project. There were almost about 12 projects in particular that I was concerned about. One is that you find that about 11 of them were more of a sewer or sanitation and water connection. These are in informal settlements. They would give us an excess of service sites or service stands where people have the ability to have piped water and piped sewer, or more than 15,000 sites that would have intervened in the informal settlements as part of upgrading informal settlements. What we found to be common is that you find that a project, let's say one of the projects is budgeted for 26 million, 24 million has been spent, but not all the sites have been completed. And you find, because I had to call some of the contractors to ask them, why have they left site when they have not concluded their contractual obligation? And then you find some of the contractors who say, we are still owed. And they would say, one of them says, we are still owed about 6 million. And when you look at the amount of money between what was budgeted, what has been spent, and what the contractor is saying that they are owed, there's no correlation. So it's already above the project's budget. But also when you look at the number of service sites, for example, they were supposed to deliver 1,483 of sites, only 920 were finished. And the money is completely finished. You ask, but you'll have to come back on site and deliver per the contract, because this is what we have paid you, and this is what the amount of money is. So there were quite a number of explanations people were trying to give. One particular painful one is the key hostel. The others, at least you could see some of the milestone. When we went to key hostel, for example, this is supposed to be a CRU units. And when we look at it, there's been 3 contractors on site. Not even a single unit is completed. Now you have the building, the structure. If you look at it, you see that it's not even supposed to be at the level where it is. And I was saying we'll send over NHPRC, but I doubt the structures will pass the integrity, because we do believe that we're still having to go and have to demolish. And this is against a budget initially of almost 300 million, but currently already spent is about 600 million with no single unit completed. Right. So this is part of what was raised with us and I found when I went to Machabeng.
I'm also curious, Minister, listening to you about where officials in the department have perhaps been derelict in their duties or even been in cahoots with unscrupulous business people. Because, for example, if a project is standing, basically abandoned, incomplete for years in some cases, that means someone in the department is not doing their job. I remember a case, in fact, coming from Bloemfontein just a few weeks ago, where there was a housing project there, public housing. It is still standing, and people were saying on Facebook just last month that, in fact, let's just go in and occupy it because we've been waiting for years for these units to be ready, and we're getting no joy.
Yeah, the issue of employees, definitely it's something that we have to pay attention to. And that's what we said to SIU when I called, I asked them to say, look at all material areas. For example, for payments to be done, there are instances where I got a sense that there's been upfront payment because you are supposed to pay per mileage. So you can't finish the budget when there's not been a single unit being completed. For example, if you look at the CRU, the G hostel that I'm talking about, you wouldn't have finished double the amount of budget when there's nothing as a product for you to hand over. Secondly, one of the issues I raised with the colleagues is that how do you as officials, because they are the ones that approves the payments. When we go, we've got a system that is called HSS, where you are able to load the payment schedule, the dates of payments. And when you look the dates of payments versus the milestone at that time, if you look at HSS, you'd have an impression that actually this project is complete. But when you go on site, you'll find that the project is complete. Obviously, it's an official of the department, not a service provider that would have entered those details to say this project is complete. And that's why we're saying to them, on what basis did you make the final payment? On what basis did you upload the system to say we are paying the system, we are paying the service provider when the work has not been done? So it's part of those. An unfortunate part of Free State is that we have quite a number of employees in the Department of Human Settlements in Free State who are currently before courts, and some actually under investigation. Some had to go into DC, and that has actually crippled us even on performance. I can safely say almost half of the department in Free State, in the human settlements, are either going through DC or are before the courts.
Briefly then, Minister, speaking to you in August, Women's Month, a lot will be said about helping women, empowering women in South Africa. One of the issues that many women in South Africa still have has to do with land ownership, for example. I made you the example about the units in the Free State in Bloemfontein, where people were saying, well, let's just go in and occupy them. And many of the people who were supporting that were single mothers who said, well, the economy is tough, we can't afford rent, we feel unsafe, and we need a safe place to go. And I wonder how much room there is within your department to make sure that the interests of such women are protected.
Look, it's true. I mean, when we look at stats, it tells us that almost around 46 or 48% of households are female-led households, single parents. That tells you in terms of our demographics, where almost 60% of the population is women. So our response in terms of ensuring that we do deliver services is quite critical in responding to challenges faced by women. I do say as well that when we empower women, when we give them a shelter, for example, we protect them even around issues of GBV. When we provide shelter for them, we continue to ensure that they are protected, but also we do away with the apartheid legacy where women could not own properties. So our work is still cut out for us. I can't say that we've reached that objective, but a lot has been done. We've been prioritizing women in terms of title deeds that we're giving, but also in terms of houses, but more importantly as well, economically active. We have decided as the department that we're setting aside 40% in terms of our contracts. Currently, Mpumalanga and Limpopo provinces are doing very well in actually ensuring that there's allocation in terms of projects to women-led contracting companies who have even delivered. And I always say, where we give opportunities to women, their projects actually are finished within record time. They are also within budget and are delivered in quality. I've handed over quite a number in Mpumalanga and Limpopo, and I've been happy in terms of the product that they do. So it's part of the work that we have to continue to do to support women as we celebrate this Women's Month, not to be just a rhetoric, not just in verbal, but also in action as we do empower women, and we know that we are empowering a nation.
Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, good to speak to you, Minister. Thank you very much for your time tonight.